I just spent hours wrestling with the crank, trying not to damage the main bearings as I'm trying to reassemble this VW air-cooled motor. And I want to tell you right now, I had brand new bearings. I had a great crank. The bearings fit on a crank, fantastic. But you'll never guess what went wrong. Wait and see. Well, I'm trying to work on main bearings, and the main bearings are right here. One goes there, one goes there, and one goes there. And they hold it. And now, many of you who are used to working on North American vehicles, you'll recognize the main bearing caps would traditionally look like this. And you have half that fits underneath on the block in here. For example, would fit there, and the other half would fit over the top. Like so. And that would hold the mains on your crank nice and steady, and everything would work out really well. What had happened to this motor, and I had shown earlier in one of the earlier videos, how the main bearing had twisted. It actually had twisted so much, had seized on the crank and twisted, and it actually had moved this pin slightly over, and it created a bit of a burr right there. And so what I had to do is take and just very, very gently massage that burr out of there. And I used a really fine file just right on the very top of it. And then my Dremel, I had like 1,000 grit sander, and just sort of sanded just the top until I couldn't feel any more of a lip there at all. And I'm hoping that that's going to be adequate. This is where the cam is supposed to sit, and those are my lifters sitting right below it. And so that's all fitting together relatively well. But you can notice something here, is that main bearing is not sitting in the bottom. Whoops. That main bearing is not sitting in the bottom. Matter of fact, it's sitting up. And so I got my handy dandy Princess Auto caliper, made out of plastic. So it's got to be good if it's made out of plastic, because it'll never rust. And it'll hardly even bend at all, especially when you're trying to measure to, 10,000ths of an inch. That will hardly ever bend at all. So I got my handy dandy caliper out, and I measured. And sure enough, it fits around the journals real nice. Now, here's something that's really odd and unusual about this Volkswagen, is that a number of the bearings look like this. And so they go completely around, and so it'll slide right on. And I'm going, yes, I'm in business. And that doesn't move back and forth at all. It's nice and solid. It's nice and tight. It's all really good. And so I was working on that. But you know what? Something I was trying to put it into the crank, or into the case, and it just would not fit. Gotta kind of help. So I put that on there. The outside diameter of the old one is, well, if you were to look really close, it was 64.5 when I had it attached on there properly. You can see that. Let's get squared up, nice and straight. Well, this one's saying 64.8 at the moment. Like I said, plastic. You gotta love plastic calipers. Okay, 64.8. But if you look at the outside of the new one, now that's an old one, and so that fits into the case just fine. But you look at the outside of a new one, and it is 65.8. Again, 65. Whoops. Let me get it both where it's supposed to be. 60. Look at that brand new. Okay, let me. Okay. These are 66. If I don't hit the groove. 66. And so, again, I'm just going to do this one more time. 65. So, the long and the short of it, it's a full millimeter. It's a full millimeter difference between the two, and that's why it won't fit in a case. And so if I were to try to actually get that into the case and bolt it all down, I could probably maybe even squeeze them in there. I don't think I could, but it would leave gaps everywhere in the case, and I could potentially break the case. And to replace that case, of that motor case, be about $2,000, and I just don't really want to spend that kind of money. So I'm a little disappointed that the main bearings are not fitting. I will be getting my hold of my buddy over at CIP, California Import Parts, and having a talk with him and saying, hey, what'd you do give me the wrong parts for? Doesn't he have any idea that I have no idea what I'm doing? I mean, who else would buy a genuine plastic caliper? You know what? It is plastic, but I'm surprised how good a job it does. For a plastic caliper, that's fine plastic, and oh yeah, it's made in China. Okay, have to rethink that again. But so, anyways, that's why I was trying to work on a German car. I was going to make stuff that was made in genuinely made in Mexico, because that's where all the German parts are made. But just as long as it's not made in China. But anyway, so I'm kind of stopped, and I'm not very happy about that. I can't get it any further along, and not only that, they also all the connecting rod bearings were also too big. Now, fortunately, the connecting rod bearings on the old motor were okay. Now, what I've discovered in talking with a bunch of people and stuff like that, what kind of happened with the old motor is that they were trying to start it, and as they were turning it over, they likely were pouring more I'll show you. They're pouring lots and lots of fuel down the carburetor. And so if you notice, the carburetor goes straight down and into this pipe. If you look along this pipe, it goes straight into the heads there and there. And as it goes straight into the heads there and there, what's going to happen is that the fuel is just going to pour right down into the head. The fuel pours right down into the head, and then it was pouring right into the cylinders, and the cylinders were leaking into the oil. What happened after a bit of time is that they had probably wrestled and fought with it for I don't know how long, but they actually got a pile of fuel. Now, maybe the float is stuck in here, and I haven't pulled the carburetor apart yet, but I need to do that before I put it all back together. I will be doing a carb job on this. And I'm going to see why the gas was just pouring into there. Now, the reason I know that it was gas in there, now you can't really see, but you can kind of see that there's a greenish discoloration right here. And when I first started pulling this apart, there was actually green globs in there. And so those green globs that were in there and the only thing you get green from is from the gas. And it was because of that gas in the oil that the rear main bearing wasn't getting adequate lubrication, and that's why it seized up. And so that's kind of sort of the process, and you can tell as it went further back, the front bearing is actually in really good shape. The middle bearing had some bluing on it. We took some 2000 grit sandpaper and got the journal looking just fantastic again. But the very end one, it was actually seized. But it didn't seize while it was running. It was actually seized when they were turning it over. And that's why it didn't screw up the block too badly. And actually the main bearing wasn't twisted all out of shape. It was just, you could just tell it and stopped. So that's how you can tell that there's a lot of gas in the oil. I also noticed something else with this motor, and if you look right here, you can see there's a bunch of all this is really, really rough and kind of eaten away. And this block is a magnesium block. One of the things I discovered about this magnesium block is that I guess apparently they crack really easily. And I was on some Volkswagen forums, and apparently they would crack right behind this cylinder, right in there. So you're talking to an old Chevy guy, and that's kind of what I cut my teeth on is Chevys. But when you rebuild a Chevy, you generally speaking, you hone the cylinders and you get new piston rings and you clean up the pistons, and you got that groove cleaner on the piston. You get that all cleaned up and stuff like that. But you know what? With these Volkswagens, you don't hone cylinders. When you order a rebuild kit, I'll show you what you get. You get this. This is the cylinder. There it is. And inside the cylinder, they already have the piston. The piston has the stamp going in the right direction. You see the stamp over there. It tells you exactly what size it is, how much over it is. Apparently this is bored out about as maximum you can get in a stockish type motor. Apparently it's going to have quite a few more cc's. Because, I was thinking ahead. I was going, surely I'd have to stuff rings, pistons and all that. But nope, they got her already done. So I'm looking forward to get this together. But I can't do a thing because the rod bearings are the main bearings are shot. And but I'm kind of excited about the whole project right now as I slowly been getting parts and getting stuff together. I got a hold of a guy at California Imports. Guy's name is Gary. And I got a cousin Gary that I know is watching and is paying attention. So that's how I remember his name. I said, well, I'll pretend it's my cousin. But, apparently is. My cousin Gary's an incredible mechanic. He's a small motor mechanic down on Vancouver Island, and he works there, and he also works up at Fort McMurray, and he's been doing that virtually his whole life. You get people locked in your mind in a certain age, and so the last time I actually saw Gary, he was probably only a teenager, but right now he's got a big old biker beard, and he's trying to put on a persona of a big tough biker. But if he's like any of the other Nickel clan, he cries at anything, so he's not so tough after all. Anyway, I was just thinking of trying to get these pistons all back together and thinking, man, it'd be kind of cool if my cousin was out here giving me a hand. That'd be a lot of fun. Appreciate all the likes, man, oh man, appreciate that. Appreciate all the subscriptions. It's growing, so tell your buddies, share. I get full permission to share. I got nothing to hide. I just want to have some fun. It's sort of like I'm pretending that you're here with me right now. And some of you guys I know by name that have liked and subscribed, and I appreciate that so much. And some of my relatives, stuff like that, appreciate that so much. And a lot of the people have viewed already. I appreciate that so much. So again, subscribe and hit the bell so that it'll come up and you'll know that I got something up there. And like it and leave a comment. Leave a comment. Say, Walter, you're a moron. And I'll agree with you. Or what are you doing? I'll say, I don't know. Interact with me. Let me know some of what you would like to see what I'm doing here, and I'll carry on. I've got all kinds of other projects on the go. I'm going to be heading up to the office this week. I won't be having much. I'll probably edit and try to have this out maybe tonight or tomorrow. But for the rest of the week, it'll be pretty quiet. But I'll try to get at least one a week out and see where we're at. And I'll let you know how California Import Parts treats me with this little bit of a glitch. And we'll see where it goes from there. So till then, be safe. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon.